Printify has so many different blanket options, and a common question I get from students is which is the best and which blanket should I actually be selling in my store? So I ordered a bunch of different samples of the best selling Printify blankets so I can compare them so you don't have to. So today I'm going to be showing you which ones I recommend, which ones I don't recommend, which ones I think you can make a killing on in profit, which print providers blankets to avoid, and so much more. So if you've been thinking about selling blankets in your store and it's getting to the cold season, so right now is the perfect time to do that, make sure you watch this video before losing profit on listing the wrong blanket. So I'm going to show you all the blankets quickly and then we'll get into the details of each of them. And the first one up we have is the Minky Blanket, and this was done by Printed Mint. Then we have our Fleece Sherpa blanket. I love the way that this one turned out, and this one was by Spoke Custom Products. Then we have the Velveteen Plush, which was done also by Spoke. Then we have the Velveteen Microfiber blanket, and this one was printed by Pick the Gift. And then finally, we have the Woven blanket, and this one was printed by MWW On Demand. So first up that I showed you, and you might get a basic idea of what I'm gonna say just from that video, but first up we have the Minky Blanket, and the first thing you might have noticed is the extreme white space. And I went and actually checked my file. I did not have this white space, though the preview did show that there is a slight white border at the sides. I'm not sure why I got this one very crooked space over here. You can see it on actually both sides of this blanket where I am getting this just weird edge, which would guarantee a customer complains. And I was actually pretty sad about this one because I was very excited to get something from Printed Mint because I've heard pretty good reviews, but this blanket just isn't really selling for me. It's also very thin. If you take a look at the print, because I also included some text here, it might be hard to see on camera, but it is not the most crisp printing ever, which is fine. It's a blanket. It has a bunch of fibers to it, but compared to some of the other blankets, the crispness just isn't there. A positive to it is when you actually move the design, you don't see a lot of white underneath like some of the other blankets. When you actually move it, you see the underneath of whites. This one's not too bad, but based on this sample that I got, due to the off print, which hopefully could have just been an error, but it doesn't give me much hope. But also the crispness of the blanket just doesn't really compete for me. Next up, we have the Fleece Sherpa by Spoke. And this one I unwrapped and it blew my mind. I'm actually such a big fan of this one, and I actually haven't seen this one talked about too much when usually doing comparisons. So I'm just gonna show you guys this one. This one didn't come in a small size like some of the other ones did, so this one's a little harder to fit on screen. But you can take a look at just how crisp the print is. I think out of anyone, this had by far the clearest lines and details compared to my actual print file. Just look how crisp this text is. And if you were going to have any text on your blanket, based on all the samples I got, this is by far the crispest, easiest to read one, and it is so soft. The front is very soft. There is no long fibers on the front, so even when you move the blanket fibers, you're not seeing a bunch of white show up underneath. And if we take a look at the back here, I wish I could put feel through a YouTube video, but it's very soft. My only concern with fleece stuff in general, just like your sweatpants, is the more you wash it, it's likely going to become less soft. I've just noticed this with all of my items that are like this. But if you want something that when someone first opens it, it's extremely soft and warm, this is probably the warmest by far. The closest I would say is a winter blanket would be this Fleece Sherpa blanket here by Spoke. Next, also from Spoke, is we have the Microfiber Plush over here. And taking a look at this one, obviously much thinner. A lot of these, the Velveteen, the Plush ones, you might notice are very small. The only one that I really thought would actually keep me warm in the winter was that Fleece Sherpa. But between these smaller ones, which I think would be great for babies or great for pets, for example, we have this one, which is very close to the Velveteen Microfiber, But let me show you the differences here. So this one, we just have the Velveteen Plush. It is very soft on the inside. The printing is pretty good. The only thing a lot of the times with these microfiber ones or these Velveteen is they do have a white underneath. So when you actually move the design or you just pat it, you do see the white kind of show through, making the design not look so crisp. But a lot of people probably won't even think about that, but something for you to consider. Because they're very similar, let me show you a side-by-side for these two. We have the Velveteen Plush, again from Spoke, which I just showed you, but comparing it to the Pick the Gift microfiber version of this. Feel-wise, they're pretty the same, even the weight and heaviness of them. So if you're trying to pick the hotter one or the one that's going to keep you warmest, I don't really think that's a deciding factor between these two. But we can see the Spoke version here. The colors, we are getting slightly different colors, with the Spoke one being a little bit on the brighter side, I'd say closer to the other examples, versus the microfiber here did print a lot darker than a lot of the other samples. And if we compare the fibers underneath, I find slightly with the microfiber, you're seeing a lot more of the distortion in the color because of the fibers underneath. So while these are extremely close for me, I haven't washed them, so that's one thing I can't compare on, but I would say the Spoke has a slight benefit, and it also has a benefit because Spoke is also the one that prints that Sherpa one. So if you wanted to have two options for your customers, you can have them printing from the exact same printer. And then finally, we have the woven blanket. And you can see here, obviously, because this is woven, it is meant to look hand woven. This has a much different look and feel to it. I would say this works really well as more home decor, more so than it does a big, soft, cute blanket. I don't think it's the softest thing in the world, but I do think it's the most aesthetic and the most likely to bring in a higher profit. I can back up on this one and show you guys this. This just looks like someone actually handmade it, which is what differentiates it between it and the other blankets out there. So if you're trying to reach maybe a cottage decor, maybe a gift, I absolutely love the woven blanket. But if you are trying to create a dog blanket or a baby blanket or something that's supposed to keep someone really warm, I'd say this is not the one to go for. It's great for cottage decor. It looks amazing and it is great as gifts. I have given this as gifts quite a bit and people have loved it, but it really depends on who these are going to. We can take a look at the back here. It's pretty much an inverted version of the front, so you're not getting those soft fibers like the other blankets, but you do get this really cool fringe. If pricing is your biggest factor on which one you're gonna sell, well, let's also cover the pricing and which on that aspect I think is better for your store. First, I'm going to compare the three that I think were most similar and would be the biggest competition against each other, which is the Minky, the Velveteen, and the Velveteen microfiber. And to make sure that I'm comparing apples to apples, we are going to be comparing the size of the 50 by 60. These have different sizes available, which could also be a deciding factor for you. In fact, the Printed Mint Minky Blanket actually has the smallest. All the other options have the option to go up to 60 by 80, but the largest that the Printed Mint Minky one comes in is the 50 by 60. And if we take a look at the provider information here and take a look at their 50 by 60, their price for Printify Premium, but you can also take a look at the regular price, but I am on Printify Premium and most people making sales will be this, but you can also compare as we go through this with the regular price. But the Printify Premium price for this is $21.12. And if we take a look at the shipping for US, we get the 50 by 60, $13.89 here. Then we have the Velveteen Plush here, which was the Spokes version. And taking a look at the provider info for the 50 by 60, this is $16.83 with shipping at let's take a look at the standard to compare apples to apples, $9.99. Then we have the Pick the Gift, and don't worry guys, I'm going to show you this in the spreadsheet after so we can see it all in one place. But we have the one by Pick the Gift here. The 50 by 60 is $18.16, and to the US shipping for the 50 by 60 is also $9.99. So I've just put these in a spreadsheet. So these first three right here were the three smaller blankets that I think were very comparable. And if we take a look at these, the cheapest one actually was the Velveteen Plush by Spoke, which I already gave my #1 spot for these three comparisons. So if you're looking for a smaller blanket, a lighter fabric, soft blanket, ideal, I'd say, for kids and for dogs, maybe decor as a gift, but I wouldn't be promising a heavy duty blanket for this, but Spoke would be my winner. Then this comparison has really made me a fan of Spoke because they were also the provider of the Fleece Sherpa, which to me gave the most warmth, probably gave the most value of the more standard of blankets, and it was only $1 more, well, $1 and a bit more than the Pick the Gift Velveteen Microfiber, but this was so much more heavy duty, soft. I think you're going to get a lot more 5 stars. And the best option would be to offer your customers both the Velveteen Plush as a light version of this, and you can offer an upgrade to the Fleece Sherpa or just another option in your listing. And that is only slightly more, but it's going to appeal to a lot of people. And because it's shipping from the same provider, if people order both, it's coming from the same place, which I typically like to keep my items together in one package. And then finally, we have the woven blanket, which comes in after both the pricing and the shipping at $39.59. These are all prices in USD, by the way. And this one, again, is highly dependent also on your niche and who you're selling to. If this is a decor, a tapestry, something you want to look more handmade, this is a great option. I, again, love the woven blanket, but it's not for every design. You have to design specifically with the woven blanket in mind. And I think this is probably the one that you can price the highest. I've seen people pricing way over 100 USD for these. If you plan or want to sell blankets right now is the absolute best time to list them, and using Printify, you can get these up in a day, get these automatically fulfilled by using Printify, and use this guide to pick the right blanket for the types of designs and the types of niches that you're going for. If you've gotten samples of blankets before, let me know what you think of them in the comments below. And if you learned anything or this helped you at all, please drop a like and subscribe. That would help me out so much. Thank you guys, and I will see you next week.